No, I hope this thing's recording. So, I had an interesting experience today. And it's actually going to be, I was just going to mix everything into one. First experience was I went with my cousin. We're both, obviously, as you can tell by the fact that I am currently on a motorcycle enthusiasts. He's a much more adventure riding motorcyclist than I am. I've kind of, since he has shared his experiences in that venue with me, I've become more of a fan and have kind of wanted to start doing it myself. So I've, we're both kind of interested in it now. So we're, doing a lot of research. I've been looking at, trying to find an old, an older, adventure bike I can take out and go on trails and putz around on, and still have this thing for carving up asphalt. So saw this, we've been talking, like I said, we've been talking about this and getting really interested in it, and we both have been, pretty much fans of the movie that Ewan McGregor and, I can't remember his name now, Gordon something, I think it's Gordon something, but it's Just Around the Turn or something, Just Around, for whatever reason my mind is blanking on it, but it's the movie where the two guys ride the BMWs around the world, which is a really cool, really well told story. So we see this new movie that's just coming out, and there's a Fathom event for it, going on and on about this is these guys were inspired by this movie to learn how to be adventure riders. They've never done it before. It's called A Story Worth Living, and it's a dad, his 3 sons, a friend, and a psychologist. Sounds like the start of a bad joke, quite frankly. Needless to say, we both saw it, read about it a little bit, and like, oh, this seems like it'd be kind of cool to go see. So we got tickets for it. It's a Fathom event where it's like one of these semi-live showings of it, one night only kind of thing. And it's written, produced, and starring these guys that have never done it before. And the dad's an author and, whatever. So we figure, if he's an author, he's probably a pretty decent storyteller. And you're going to notice the emphasis I'm going to put on one particular word. So I'm actually going to interrupt and say, there needs to be a drinking game every time I say this word, story. Okay? So every time I say the word story, you should take a drink. If you're at work right now, you might want to go home. Oh, shite. I need to stop and get gas, so we're going to talk while I'm going to get gas as well. It's starting to get a little chilly, which is okay. But alright, so I'm kind of diverging from my initial subject here a little bit. Not that much, quite frankly. So we decided to go and see this movie on its quote-unquote opening premiere night, and I think only night that's ever going to be in theaters, with the anticipation of it being quite entertaining. You're still on. I'm hoping you're recording. Let's just double check. Yeah, you are. Okay, good. Okay. So we decided to go see this movie about motorcycle riding and adventure riding. Are you going to allow me to dispense gasoline? Thank you. With this, anticipation of it being a really nice story about bikes and adventure riding. And we go in, they're doing some pre-show stuff on the screen, we're chatting, about different things, and So the movie starts. And it starts out much like, most kind of shows where it's like, okay, build up. Nice. That's cool. We're going to talk about bikes. They show the bikes. They kind of talk about how they're going to share on this adventure. And the narration just keeps talking about how life is a story. Life is a story. You should be drinking every time I say that word, remember? And you have to experience this story in order to experience life. I hate when that happens. Which, whoop-de frickin' do. Of course, we're going to experience a, quote, story, drink, every time we talk about life, because life is exactly that. It's one long ending story. Needless to say, that's pretty much the entire movie, is these 6 motorcyclists who happen to be hipsters, and my cousin put it very, very, very plainly and very succinctly that they are hipsters talking about going on a motorcycle ride, and then talking about how they went on a motorcycle ride, and talked during the motorcycle ride about how they were enjoying the motorcycle ride and how they were going to continue on the motorcycle ride and their feelings, and how it's a big story about stories, and how the story doesn't actually happen during the story of them actually telling the story. You kind of catch my drift? Basically, it's a big old, you showed up to watch this movie about motorcycles, and we're going to tell you about how we feel. Well then, that's exactly what I wanted to watch tonight. I wanted to watch something about nothing. I feel like I'm watching an episode of Seinfeld. But, so, we actually didn't even finish the movie. Like, literally, the quote-unquote last scene of the movie was them saying, talking about the end, and how the end of the story is just the beginning of another story. And he quoted some stuff from Chronicles of Narnia, and quoted some stuff from Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and okay, some of it touched home, some of it was really stupid, and I thought it was going to be actually really, hold on, back up. Most of it was really stupid. When it first started, I thought I was going to actually be watching something that actually was going to be kind of interesting, especially when they had a psychologist who was talking about some basically finding yourself and finding center, and a bunch of things where I thought was like, okay, you're going to be analyzing why people have a desire to want to go on these big adventures, which is actually kind of interesting to me. Psychoanalyzing people who are somewhat adventurous individuals. I like that because, quite frankly, I'm not as adventurous as I'd like to be. I'm working on it, I'm getting better with it, but, I'm not quite there yet. Needless to say, the story had nothing to do with motorcycles. It pretty much was like, okay, I don't remember exactly how long it was, but it pretty much had about 15 minutes worth of, oh my god, that car is in a ditch. I think I'm gonna, shite. Well, alright folks, we're gonna do something that's probably a tidbit illegal, but because this person looks like they need some help, we'll come back to this in a minute. Car in ditch. Okay, look at car. Look at construction. and laugh. Okay. And we've got to turn and go this way because I can't get out that way. Which sucks, but that's okay. I'm sorry. I can't help but laugh at that right now. And it's amazing that no one else gets out of their vehicles to see if said woman in peril. I mean, seriously, sure, why she drove into a f***ing ditch. I can't, I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh because it's hilarious and it's tragic at the same time, but I can't help but laugh. Oh, Lord Almighty. Oh, that probably actually wasn't the road. And back headed home. Alright, I have completely and totally lost track of my subject, so I'm going to try to get back on subject here, and this is going to be one really interesting. I hope to God the camera is picking all of this up because it is dark out and I don't know how much of it can see. Can you see it over there on the left side in the ditch? In the ditch. In the ditch. In the ditch. Okay. Alright. Stop. Funny as hell. Okay. Moving on with my life. Back to where I was. Wow, this guy's got purple turn signals behind me. That's kind of flamer. I am going to do this. Okay. Back to where I was. Oh, excuse me. So, the essence of the movie was supposed to be about how this was a motorcycle adventure. It ended up being a story about telling a story that doesn't actually happen. Like, they filmed the story, they participated in the story, but they never actually showed what happened during the story. There probably was, I want to say probably 15 minutes of motorcycle adventure footage. And that's it. Out of an hour and a half, 2 hour, whatever the I watched, there was only like 15 minutes of it being motorcycles. I mean, hello. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn about your feelings. I don't give a damn about the essence of your story. I don't care about that. I want you to tell me a good story about riding a motorcycle and meeting people and going on an adventure. That's the whole purpose of having an adventure bike and having an adventure, is you get to go on these adventures and you actually get to, you know, experience this. But whatever. Okay, I'm getting frustrated by it because it was seriously as hilarious of a waste of time as you possibly could think of. That's exactly what I had, was a hilarious waste of time, which is unfortunate for me, but hilarious nonetheless. So afterwards, we proceeded to exit said theater. We left early because it was ridiculous and I didn't want to watch anymore, and he didn't want to watch anymore because it was quite embarrassing. So we left. We went and got a couple of got some ice cream and talked about how the ridiculousness of said story. And then ended up meeting a couple of guys that were in there also and watched the thing. They stayed till the very end and talked to them for a while, which it's a small world after all kind of thing, because apparently the one guy that my cousin or the one guy that was there, my cousin, had met at the adventure ride that he had just done like the week prior. It was kind of cool that he met them, and we chatted for a while. He had a Triumphs, I think it was a Triumph, or maybe it was a Yamaha. I don't remember now. It was an adventure bike, and it was a nice bike, absolutely nice bike. And then one of his friends I was there had a little old Suzuki GS something. It was 79 GS. It was a 4-cylinder. I think it was a 7 something. Or for the life of me, I'm terrible with models. I really am. I wish I remembered them better. I'm terrible. My short-term memory is about as long as a bat's wing. So yeah. So I'm surprised I'm actually able to tell you any of this stuff right now, as it happened, more than a half an hour ago. But needless to say, all of this led up to me being able to tell my own said story to you about having watched a story that is completely and totally ridiculousness-city of its own storied stupidity. And then to top it off, I obviously had rode to said story so that I could, be in the spirit of motorcycle adventuring, which really wasn't, because it was the same route that I take to go to work every morning and home every day. It's the same route that I take home every day, pretty much. But at the very end of this, where I'm getting ready to leave, and whenever I had left the bike out front, I had put it locked and everything, and put the steering column in lock. I put a wheel lock on it, like I do anywhere where I'm going to be away from the bike for any length of time over like 5 minutes. Something feels a little goofy. That's where I'm getting at with where I'm, the whole point to my story is the fact that dummy me, when I get home I gotta look at this closer, dummy me went and forgot to take my oh god, this is terrible. I hate when it's this cold out and it's not warm enough, but it's not cold enough. It's just that right temperature to fog my visor over incessantly if it's not cracked, but it's just cold enough to piss me off with the visor cracked. But okay, where I was getting to was basically that I forgot to take the disc lock off, and I went to start out and it went boom, and the bike fell over, and I went, it's just a bike. Now I have a story to tell about telling why am I in six? I have a story to tell about telling a story about nothing that was insightful. There you go, guys. I hope that interspersed with the randomness of a woman who drove her car into a ditch will entertain you for just that long. Alright guys, that's all for me tonight. I am gonna go home, gonna go to bed and try again tomorrow, and hopefully not be as much of a screw up as I am today. Later, Dave.